All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Meet the Masters. Tim Watson, joined by my lovely wife, Erin Watson, and we are joined by our awesome friend, Stephanie Mabrouk. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. It's been, just hanging out day, cleaning and, doing stuff. How are you?
Good. Thought you were going to say it's been such a long time since we've seen you, but
Ages. I know, right? So what's new right now? What's going on at your neck of the woods in Utah?
yeah, so well, non-karate wise, I unfortunately am closing our site here. So June 25th will be the last day. So there's a lot of transition happening, a lot of things going on, and I'm working to find my next role. So the goal is we still have a house in New Jersey. And so the goal is to be moving back to New Jersey, back to Region 8.
Yay! Yes, we if that happens, we 100% support that. How talk about your time in Utah, like some
Sure.
of your.
So we moved out here, and it's kind of interesting. We moved back to New Jersey in the Region 8 area around family and friends in 2016. And then suddenly this job opening came up in Utah, and I've always wanted to be a plant manager. That's been like my dream job since I was a co-op. And so they had this plant manager position open, and it was out in Utah, and I really hadn't been here. And I said, you know what, let's do it. Well, of course, we talked it over with Mo, and he was like, sounds great, we'll do it. So we moved out to Utah, not really knowing the area, but it's been fantastic. The Region 2 has welcomed us with open arms. Master Lindsay is about 25 minutes from where we live, so that's been great getting to know him better. And of course, Master Williamson, the regional director, is fantastic, a wealth of knowledge, and have really appreciated Region 2 welcoming us here.
And for those of you that don't know, Steph works for Johnson & Johnson. So I'm not sure how many people know your professional background, right? And as such, she gets to move around every couple of years to different sites, and that's afforded you the opportunity to train in several different regions, correct?
That's correct, yes. So maybe let's start from the beginning. If we'll start from the beginning, and then I'll go from there. So I started my martial arts career. Well, actually, I don't know if many people know this, but I started in Kung Fu. I started in 1992, I guess, in Kung Fu with my dad. He started a few months before me. And we just got, I think I got to my second sash or something like that. And then he decided it just wasn't the right move. And later he moved to Tung Soo Do with Master Godwin. And it was great. He started, then my sister Heather started, then my brother Derek started. And you guys know, well, KMAI, we had like big events, right? So we had summer events, and we had the event at Nerd Temple year end. And I would go to those events, and I just felt like I was missing out on something. I was really busy with sports and stuff like that, but I just met amazing people and this, brotherhood. You talk about it so much. And I didn't realize, actually, when I had my interview with Grandmaster Strong, he told me originally brotherhood wasn't one of the 3 mottos, right, for WTSDA, which I didn't know. But anyway, I think brotherhood's such an important characteristic and reason, right, for me and my journey in the WTSDO Association. So anyway, so I just thought it was fantastic, and I wanted to join. It was something I wanted to do. So in 97, I joined KMAI in the Stanton studio, and that's where I started. I got my black belt in 2000, and then I graduated high school in 2001. And at that point, I went to Drexel University in Philadelphia. And that's how I became such great friends with Master Watson and Erin. So we, I was in Philly, right? And I was planning to just travel back to Philadelphia, to Delaware for the weekends. And Master Godwin said, hey, why don't you go train at Shin Karate at headquarters? And Erin's there. And he gave me Erin's phone number. And I actually didn't know Erin very well at the time, because I was just becoming 17, right? So and you guys know well, maybe the people watching don't know well, But Stanton, we had our own studio. You guys were in Newark, right? And he had a lot of different schools. So it was almost like we were our own school right within KMAI. So I got to know Aaron a lot better through Shin Karate, and I was afforded a lot of great opportunities training at Shin. So that at the time was the world headquarters, and Master Louis Castelli was there, and he was fabulous as well. Great instructor, really enjoyed learning from him. Hardwood floor, so I'm sure many of you guys who are, you know, the senior masters who have trained on hardwood floor, that was definitely different than the nice mats that Master Godwin had at his studio, but a great experience. And of course, Grandmaster Shin sat there. So I think, Aaron, I was watching your video yesterday and you were talking about, yes, you would go up the steps and like Grandmaster Shin would be right there. You'd be bowing to him, right? And you'd go to get dressed. So had a lot of interactions, right, with Grandmaster Shin there. He didn't teach a lot except for the leadership class, but it was great to see him and have interactions with him that way. Speaking of leadership class, that was another great opportunity that we had going to Shin Karate. So as instructors there, they allowed us to attend leadership class. Region 8 has a leadership class. They have, did it start around 2001 or did they have it prior to that? I don't know when it started.
Yeah, I think you guys were there pretty much when it started, right? So it was right around that time when they.
Yeah, I think, I don't know how early it started, but you know, I joined in 2001 and I was a first degree black belt still at the time. And it was amazing to train with these third degrees, right? So, you know, Master Harsh, Master Black, Master Thierfelder, Master Horwath, just amazing, right? To be able to learn from them, train with them. And it really opened my eyes to all the great masters we have in Region 8. Well, at the time, third degrees, but higher instructors, right? And I guess something I didn't say is when I started, there weren't a lot of masters, right? There were a lot, and it was hard to get to third degree. So that was always my goal. I wanted to become a third degree because that, like a Samdan was like amazing. And at the time there was a guy named Don Pomeroy and a woman named Chrissy Sheridan, and they were like inspirational to me. And I was like, I want to be them. I want to be a third degree. So that's what I wanted to do. And that was my passion and that was my goal. And when I set myself on a goal, like it's going to happen usually. So, so was at world headquarters for 5 years until 2006. And that's when I got into a program with Johnson & Johnson. I graduated from Drexel University and started a rotational program. So I went to Region 21, which is in Georgia and Florida. And I started there, then I rotated back to Pennsylvania, and then I rotated to California, and then back to Georgia in 2008. So it was fantastic. I think it was in 2006 when I first met Master Hutchinson, and I hadn't met him before. I think he was a fourth degree then, getting his master's, and he was just so welcoming. And you know, I really appreciate that. It was him and Master Caliph and Master Jan Lappin and Master Richards, and of course Master Sant and Lee Sant. At the time, Lee was not a master, but of course Master Lee Sant is a master now. And they were so welcoming. Again, it's just like everywhere we've gone, people have really reached out and welcomed, and it's part of the reason I'm still in Tung Soo Do, and it's one of the great attributes of our organization. And I think one of the, you know, visions that Grandmaster had was, you know, expanding our art so far and really touching so many people and being able to continue, right, the legacy. So had a great opportunity for 8 years. We were in Georgia, and we didn't expect that. If we knew that, we knew what we knew now, then we would have opened our own school, but we thought, you know, it's going to be quick. We'll be back up in the Northeast. And so we never did open a school, but we did train with Master Sants. And had a great experience there. They welcomed us. We trained with Master Jana Easter and Robin and Gail and Sherida and Ron and Nancy and, you know, David. And so just so many people. It was a great experience, and they were just like family for us. So had a great time. And then of course we went back to New Jersey in 2016, and then moved in 2018 to Utah. And again, I've talked about Region 2 being the same. So again, we've had the opportunity to really travel around with my job. It has, of course, had implications because I'm still a 4th degree. I'm not a master. We don't have a school. And it did delay Muhammad getting his master's, but it's been an incredible journey and something that I really cherish.
And it's good that you brought that up, because I think a lot of people watching probably think, why in the world do 2 amazingly talented individuals like Stephanie, Muhammad, and Mabrouk not have their own school? And, you've been able
to... And then, it's a really great, interesting story. So, and I never expected to stay in Georgia as long as I did. There's a site down there. And as I said in the beginning, I've always wanted to be a plant manager. So there was no sites in Ethicon for me to to lead, right? So that's why I decided to go back to Georgia. And I never thought I'd be there that long. And then there would just be the next best opportunity. And I stayed 8 years. And we didn't want to create, we didn't want to have a school and then leave people behind. We just felt like that was the wrong way to go about it. So that's why we went and we taught with Master Sant and Master Sant. And that's what we thought was the best way to do it. And we were very actively involved. I was the treasurer actually of Region 21 for almost all 8 of those years that we were there. And it was a great experience. Now, interestingly, coming out to Utah, it was only supposed to be a 2-year assignment, and we weren't planning on opening up anything here. And Master Williamson, he's very persuasive. And so I was sitting with him one day at a clinic, and he just said, gosh, why don't you guys have your own school? You guys are talented. We, of course, always try to teach when there's clinics or whatever, so that we can share our knowledge. And I was like, well, we don't want to leave people behind. And he told me, well, as he had this military experience and he started schools, and whether people, continued in their martial arts or continue with WTSDA or not, he said it was still impactful in their lives, and it was still something they learned and they gained. And it was so inspirational talking to him. We decided to open up a club. So we were supposed to start last year. There was a rec center opening here in 2020 in March. And so we had all the plans to start. Unfortunately, obviously, COVID happened, and the rec center didn't open. And then when it opened, we couldn't open up a school so we teach our kids. We do teach a few other kids that come here, students we have, and we teach them out of the house, but we don't have our own club. So the goal right now for us is that we hope to open up a club when we get back in New Jersey. So later this year.
Yeah, that will definitely be something that people should look forward to, because like Aaron said, you guys have lots to share, and you need to be sharing the art of Tong Sudo, in one way or the other. We have some people saying hi. I just want to check in with that.
People are watching?
Yes, lots of people, 18 people currently live. No pressure. Zaveri says hello. Master Leon says hello. Lindsay from Great Britain says hello. Brian Ormiston down in Florida says hello. Who else? Natalie from Great Britain. Ian from Bristol says hello. Tim Wagnon. We got the chance to be a part of his group in Master's Clinic. Stephen Koya and Master D, Don Khan says, good evening. Master Khan and I are watching.
Oh, wow. Hello, man. Wow. I didn't think anyone would be watching. So, wow. Hello, everybody. Thank you for spending the time.
Yeah. And the other, and Stephanie Hurd says hello as well.
That is funny. That's my, well, you guys know, but everyone else doesn't know. My brother married a Stephanie as well. So it's really kind of funny when she posts stuff. I always think it's myself at first. And then I'm like, I'm not Stephanie Hurd anymore. It's confusing.
Pretty sure you're still Stephanie Hurd in Aaron's.
You are still Stephanie Hurd, by now.
And you are still Aaron Cataldi.
There you go.
So I want to talk about some of the things you talked about starting as a kid. What were some of the things that drew you? I mean, obviously you talked about wanting to train with your family, but what were some of your favorite aspects coming up through the martial arts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really was that sense of being part of something. I was in sports and stuff and a pretty competitive person all my life. I did do, no. so I did, flag football league. I was like a cheerleader for there, and I did, we did competitions and stuff, and that's what started me in competitions. I didn't compete. I don't remember competing a lot until I got to first degree black belt, honestly, in tournaments. My sister was very avid, and her and my dad would go to every single tournament, and I didn't go to as many. But it was just the fun of being in it, of getting to know people and aspiring to do better. Like I love the sense of always being a student, right? And for us, I felt we had such great, instructors around us, and even people at our level, right? I always felt like I could learn something from others, and it was really interesting, intriguing to me, and I always wanted to do better and prove myself. So that was what, it's still today what pushes me. And of course, I met Muhammad in the martial arts as well, and then a lot of the greatest friends that I have, like you guys.
Do you remember first meeting Muhammad?
It's funny. He was already a black belt when I started, and he was an instructor, but he instructed the kids class. He didn't instruct the adult class. So he would be on the opposite side of the floor, right, teaching. And so, no, I remember Muhammad was like, please don't say this, but I'm going to say it. I remember all the girls always saying like, oh my God, Muhammad's so cute and this and that, and talking about him. But I didn't really know him or know who he was. And it was like the older girls, or I shouldn't say older, girls my age, but at a higher level, rank wise, that like knew him and talked of him. It wasn't until, regional tournaments, Region 8 tournaments were one of my most favorite things and my most stressful things, I would say. But because if anyone knows me, and I know you guys know me well, I get super stressed out about things. Just like today, prepping for this interview, I was dripping in sweat. Muhammad was laughing at me so hard. But anyway, so I would be super stressed competing, but I always would love it because my parents would always get a villa and we'd always have a great party, and it would be like super amazing and awesome. And so actually it was 1998 when we were at that regional tournament, and Muhammad had come over, and a lot of other great people would always come. Like I got to know Master Robinson and Master Mamitis really well because they would always come over and tell us amazing stories along with Master Godwin. So that would be fantastic. But anyway, Muhammad and I at one point like snuck off and started hanging out and talking together. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, this guy's really nice. And I started to like him and stuff like that. So it started from there in October of 98. And then we actually started dating in August of 99. So, but I don't remember exactly meeting him, but I remember October of 98 is when we kind of first had our, first alone conversation.
Yep. And fun fact, Stephanie and Muhammad got married on, it was the 10-year anniversary of your first date.
That's right. That is exactly right. So August 15th, August 15th, 1999 was our first date. We went to Funscape, if people remember that, in Delaware. Saw a Sixth Sense. And then, 10 years later to the day, August 15th, 2009, we got married, and both Tim and Aaron were in our wedding.
Kind of along those lines, talking about those fun events, you want to talk about how you guys got engaged? Oh,
sure. This is one of my favorite memories. Of course, I got engaged, but so December 2nd, 2005, Nerd Temple in Delaware. That's where Master Godwin, he would always rent out Nerd Temple, and it would be this big event, right? At that point, I think he had 8 schools, and maybe not by 2005, but he had a lot of schools, and we had a lot of people, and it was always like a rush to get the tickets, because if you didn't, they would sell out and you would be out of luck. So I'm getting my 3rd degree, and my whole family was there. So my parents, my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, Muhammad's mom and dad, my brother and sister, of course. So everyone's there, and I'm thinking, wow, my dad had just, previously gotten his 3rd degree. And if you guys don't know, Daryl Hurd is my dad. He is a 4th degree as well. He's my senior. Anyway, so he had come for his 3rd degree, and not as many people had come, like of the family. And I was thinking, oh wow, they're really excited all of a sudden, like they're into the karate thing and they want to see me get promoted. I'm like really naive, and I decided to do all these crazy kicks, board breaks, and I decided to do a 5 board like palm heel break and I'm stressed out. Like I just said, I stress out about everything. So I'm super stressed out about this and I'm looking for Muhammad and he is nowhere to be found. And I'm saying to my family, like, where is he? Doesn't he care that I'm nervous? Like I probably said it to you too, Aaron. Like I was just like, oh my God, what is going on? Why doesn't he care that I'm so nervous? He calms me, obviously. So, well, Muhammad was behind the curtain backstage. He was planning to propose to me and he himself was nervous that he was going to do this in front of like 600 people, right? So we were both like having our own nerves. So after I did the demonstration or whatever, and we're waiting for the belt tying, the promotions, Master Godwin gives the microphone to Muhammad. And Muhammad comes out and I'm like, oh my God, is he going to propose to me? Like I'm thinking, like we hadn't really talked about it or anything. And the immediate thought was he's going to propose to me. So I'm sitting there, but then all of a sudden he starts talking about Master Godwin and how great of a guy Master Godwin is. And I agree, Master Godwin is great. Like, you know, obviously inspiration for both of us, but it was just so weird. I'm like, clearly he's not proposing to me. He's doing like this attribute to Master Godwin. So he's going through this whole thing. And then he goes behind the curtain and he gets a sword and he gives me a sword. So back then, right, we didn't have the first two sword forms. Jangam-hyung was the form we competed with. And so, you know, as a third degree, you really used the sword a lot more. So he had gotten me a sword to symbolize my third degree promotion. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not getting, I guess it's not a, you know, proposal. But anyway, then when he gave it to me, I saw this little lump in his dobak and I was like, oh my God, maybe he is proposing to me. And so it was like this roller coaster of emotion. And so, yeah, then like a few seconds later, he pulls it out of his dobak and he gets down on one knee and he proposes. And so it was absolutely beautiful, memorable. And I tell you, everyone, I don't know how many people actually knew. My mom has never kept a secret from me, I don't think. And his parents asked for my hand in October of that year. I don't know how to this day she kept it from me for 2 months, but she did. It was a total surprise to me. I had no idea it was happening. I don't know who else did, but anyway, the whole crowd like erupts and like screaming and yelling and actually Master Godwin had to say, Stephanie, like, what was your answer? Because it was just so loud. So yeah, that was the engagement story.
That was a fun little walk through the mind of Stephanie Mabrouk there, everybody. That's
right.
exactly how it works.
I laughed. I tried. That's funny. No, I can only imagine, like you said, like it was probably only a couple minutes, but it probably seemed like ages.
Oh God, when he was talking about Master Godwin and how much Master Godwin has done for him and for us and this and that, I was like, okay, maybe he just wants to come out and just say thanks to him. And I'm like, I don't know why, because it's not his promotion, but anyway, let's go with it.
That's funny. So Kelsey Hallett says, I remember watching the third down division with you and Master Watson. I want to go back and talk a little bit about competition. And then one of our favorite people, Ro Romano says, hi, everyone.
Oh, yay. Hi, Ro.
Love her. Yeah, so, you know, competition, Master Godwin always had this like instilled in us, like the fighting, right? So we love to fight, and fighting was always so fun. So one fond memory we have is, I don't know if people remember Kahunaville. I know there's a meme going around, like the big volcano or whatever, but yeah, there was a Kahunaville tournament where Aaron and I were competing, and Master Godwin stops us and he comes and he brings us and he's like, Stephanie, Aaron, I'm gonna tell you guys, I'll give you one of you $1,000 if you knock the other one out, clear out on the ground, KO. And I'm like, but neither of us did that, obviously. I think we were more terrified after that than anything else, but we didn't get $1,000.
So I don't know how many people did this as far as competing, but you won, correct me if I'm wrong, the Youth Cup and also the Adult Cup in Region 8, correct?
No, I didn't win the youth. I don't think, no.
Okay.
Just the Muhammad did. Muhammad won the youth and the regional, but I just won the adult.
But multiple times, correct?
Yeah, yes. I won it 3 times. I won it once as a first degree, once as a second degree, and once as a third degree.
Oh wow.
Yeah. How old were you when you got your black belt? Because you probably never had a chance to win the Youth Cup, right?
Right. I didn't. I got my I got my black belt. Well, I got it in 2000, so I guess I was 16. And then turned 17 right after that.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I was 17, my first, the regional after that.
Yeah, I thought you were Mr. Region 8 statistic guy.
That's right.
What the heck?
I didn't know that she had won it 3 times, because you're one of the few, if not only, maybe you and like Sarah Bickham. I'm trying to think of who else, but you were probably the first one to get it, would be my guess.
Maybe.
So we talked.
Yeah, I mean, I think you at the one when you did your statistic thing, I think you said that at the time when you did your statistic thing, I think I was the only person that had gotten it 3 times.
I should have looked at it today on my memory. Was the cup, like a picture of the cup, the female cup. So maybe while you're talking, I'll take a look and check it out.
Yeah, but only one side. It was multiple sides.
So
we'll fact check later.
That's right. So you talked about Grandmaster Shin. Can you share some stories? Maybe the first time you met him, or some of the stories that had or moments that had a lasting effect on you.
So Grandmaster Shin, wow, he's such a important, crucial part of our organization, and we were very blessed that Master Godwin had such a close relationship with Grandmaster Shin. So Grandmaster Shin used to come to our promotions, right, at Nerd Temple back in the day. He would come to our studio. Of course, all of our clinics, right, the black belt clinics, he would attend all of them, and he was at all of our tournaments. So I don't remember the first time meeting him, right? But I do remember the first time he said, when he knew my name and I would come up and he would hug me, like it was just shocking to like, wow, this guy knows my name, right? A pretty incredible person. And, I always remember the whole be on time, which I know everybody, one more time, everyone hashtags now for him, be on time and no hanky panky, right? Those are the 3 things he would say to us all the time. I remember him drilling us in, camp in the summer in the heat, right? That drum, and you just be like, I hope he doesn't hit that dang drum again, and boom, and then you'd be like, another one. But yeah, I mean, it was great too, right? It really taught us resilience, and he truly believed to practice basics all the time, right? And drilling like it was either Basai or Sipsu that we would just keep going over and over and over, and he would just correct things and fix things and make sure we were doing it the right way. So I remember that. He also taught the November class in the leadership class every year. So that was something I always looked forward to, for him to do that instruction. And, just because, Kun San Kun towards the end when I was competing with it, right? I very distinctly remember, and this was before the books, right? When you have the books and everyone's more aligned now, but I remember him fixing 2 of the things that I had never done. So like in your opening on Kun San Kun, right? When you're coming up, I had always brought it out like this. And he's like, no, like you bring it up and you flip it over and you go up, like you keep the energy. And that was something that I had never done. And then the other one was, when you're doing Kun San Kun on this part, it's a back stance. And I had never done that either. I had always done like a fighting-ish stance. So those are 2 distinct memories that I remember, like, I will never get this wrong again, because he specifically told me this is how you do it. So that was great. But he was just a really amazing person. I had the opportunity for my master's thesis to interview 12 of our senior instructors. I called my master's thesis Through Their Eyes, a glimpse of the history of Tang Soo Do from our senior masters. But I got to interview both Grandmaster Bodwin and Grandmaster Strong, and then 10 of our senior masters. And it was just incredible to get the insights of like Grandmaster Shin, him bringing the World Tang Soo Do Organization Association to the US and creating it and creating this legacy for us, and just continuously being a visionary of what he saw for the future and for everybody. And I just think that's amazing, right? He had a political science degree, and they thought he was going to go with that. And then he chose martial arts, and he loved it. They said he traveled 30 to 40 weeks a year. So, I mean, think of the sacrifice he made for all of us. And it's just incredible. So I just am really, I think that's why so many people are loyal to him and this association, because it truly is, something that you want to be a part of and want to continue on in his memory.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the great things about these interviews is everyone has a story about him and a reason why they want to continue to share, the association and his vision and legacy for it. So yeah, that's awesome. In talking with the Grandmasters, Grandmaster Bowman and Grandmaster Strong, we got to go to Masters Clinic and spend some time with them. Can you share some stories with them, as far as Grandmaster Bowman or Strong?
Sure. So Grandmaster Bodwin, since I moved right out of the region and Grandmaster Shin was still active right when I moved down to Georgia, I didn't have as much interaction with Grandmaster Bodwin until after Grandmaster Shin had passed. And my first interaction was interviewing him for this thesis. And that was around 2015, 2016 when I interviewed him. And it was incredible. He was just the most sincere person. Actually, the first time I interacted with Grandmaster Bodwin, I forgot about this, is I got invited to Masters Clinic in 2014 for my first time. And I was pregnant. And I wanted to go, and I emailed Grandmaster Bodwin and I said, hello, sir, like I'm pregnant. Is it still okay if I come and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I mean, I really appreciate it, Steph. He was really sincere and everything. He's like, but it's a liability and you really can't test and come. I was really discouraged, but it was really sweet how he responded to me. He was so heartfelt. And of course, it was like my lifelong, like, at one point it went from 3rd degree to master. Like I wanted to become a master right after like the association continued to grow and I realized that was potential. So then I've always wanted to do Masters Clinic, and everyone's so secretive about Masters Clinic. Even like my husband and my father who have gone before me, don't tell me a dang thing, right? And of course, Master Watson, Aaron Watson had gone and no one will tell you anything. And I was like, man, this is just like the secret club that you want to get to, right? So always wanted to go. And when Master, and I really appreciate everything Master Hutchinson and Master Scott Son did to get me there as well. And when I got invited and couldn't go, it was so discouraging, but he was very sweet and in the way he responded and et cetera. So he's like, there's next year, right? So that was my first interaction with him. But then interviewing him, I mean, it was like you knew him, right? Like he just had this personality that was just so warm and welcoming to everyone, and incredible. And he's so humble, I don't know how many people know this, but he got his 7th degree in 1992. And so he was a 7th degree for 18 years. So you think about humility and humble. And one of the things that struck me, I don't remember if it was our first or our second Masters Clinic, but he sat us all down, right? And he told us the importance of being humble. And it just struck me because so often we, want that master's belt, and then people become masters and go around like, I have this red stripe and whatever. But it's not about that, really. It's almost like that's your first step to the rest of your journey, right? You are like a continual student and you're constantly learning. And he's for 18 years was a 7th degree, right? 18 years. I mean, and you think that we complain, like I waited 9 years to get my invite, right, to for my 4th degree. And I was upset about it. And then I'm like, wow, Stephanie, check your ego, right? 18 years. So, it's really incredible when you think about it and you think about all of our senior leaders who, they really pushed and it wasn't as regular as we have like promotions now, right? So people didn't just get it every X amount of years or whatever. Grandmaster Shin hand selected you and it was based on your contributions and your service and all of that stuff. So it was a very different time. Oh, I just made a mess of my hair. But it was really incredible. Now I can't get it out. Okay.
You can turn your camera off real quick if you need to fix it.
No, I'm good. And so, but another really amazing thing was I don't remember what year, but Master Mabrouk was invited to Region 9 to teach the kids clinic. And I ended up going to, and I ended up teaching as well. But we got there, Mr. Bracco from Region 9 hosted us, very sweet, didn't know us, but openly willing, opened his house to us. And we get there late because I don't remember the highway, but we missed the exit because Muhammad and I were talking and it was like literally 15 minutes to the next exit. So we were like 30 minutes late by the time we got there. Anyway, we get there, Grandmaster Bodwin is sitting there waiting for us. And I was like, no way. Hello, sir. Like you're bowing, you're like, oh my gosh. And he decided to come and welcome us to the region. I was shocked and I was just like so humbled by that as well. Like, wow, like we're nobody. I mean, we're people, right? Of course, we're somebody, but I was just like, I mean, you feel like, wow, like I can't believe the grandmaster of our entire organization has come to welcome us to his region. I mean, that was just amazing, right? Fantastic. So, I mean, it truly showed you his character, right? And I think that's the amazing thing in our martial arts is that everyone has such, that's what keeps me coming, right? Not just the continuous learning, but it's that everyone is just like a considerate, caring person, right? And, kind-hearted. And so we got to chat with him throughout the night. Master Dan Farley and Master Lauren Russo showed up. We ended up having s'mores that night, and it was the first time I've ever had a Reese s'more, which is actually quite delicious.
It's funny. I just saw someone post about that. I've never tried it. I'm gonna have to try that because I love, I love peanut butter.
Love that peanut butter.
You got some people over there, I think.
So,
I can't see it. It's on the other side of the computer.
Real quick before I get into that, so it's interesting. Grandmaster Bodwin was amazing. He was the perfect, person to follow up Grandmaster Shin when it came to the association, and we're very fortunate to have him for the time that we had, and obviously miss him terribly now that he's gone. But know that Grandmaster Strong will continue to man the helm of leading our association.
Definitely. And Grandmaster Strong, I mean, I knew him well because Region 21 used to be Alabama. I mean, it used to be Region 6, Alabama and Florida and Georgia, and then they split off. So Master Lee's son, Master Scott's son, had a very good relationship with Master Strong. And then, Muhammad got to know Grandmaster Strong. And so I got to know Grandmaster Strong. And again, just incredibly humble people. Like, when I interviewed Grandmaster Strong, he said he has not missed a day of training his entire life. Like every day there was something, even through like, I think he had 2 surgeries on his left and 2 on his right shoulder. I mean, through all of that, there was still mental training he was doing and other things, right? And being one with nature. And he was really focused on that. And I mean, just incredible. I think that I was worried when Grandmaster Shin, if I'm being honest, like I was like, wow, what's going to happen to the organization? Like, we continue? And it's because of Grandmaster Bowen and Grandmaster Strong and all of the other senior masters, right? It's like, there's that seed that they've all planted in all of us. And it's just has grown into this super foundation. And, it's just something, and I don't think there's anything else out there that's better than this. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, for me, there isn't.
You're right.
We agree. So Tom Lyons says, you're a part of a group of awesome power couples there's so many. He named some of the world's own Sudo, which includes the Watsons, Setiantos, Salona, Peterman. There's lots of others. You mentioned Dan and Line.
The Cons.
The Valentins. How do you keep that balance between work and training?
Work and training or marriage and training?
Well, honestly, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, Aaron, you said this in your interview, like I don't know how people do it not married, like having a significant other in martial arts, because it's so much of your life, right? And it's just incredible the amount of time you dedicate to it. And especially, hours of karate are typically in the evening, right? So the time that most families are together. So I think it's always been fantastic to have Muhammad as my spouse and person that that I can count on. Now he's also my senior, right? So he probably will roll his eyes because as I was coming up, right, I'm a very inquisitive person. I always ask a lot of things, and I'll be like, well, Master Dante Davis, well, Dante does it this way. He's like, well, go ask Dante then, Stephanie, right? So I would always challenge him, and so I guess I was probably the worst student for him. But it's been great, and he's obviously a great martial artist and so knowledgeable, and everything that he's been able to achieve and go to, right, going to all of overseas with Master Godwin 2 different times, and just training with Master Godwin, just like Tim, you've had the Master Watson, you've had the opportunity to do right on Tuesdays. Like you guys just, it's incredible the knowledge that you've gained right from that. So definitely an amazing experience having Muhammad by my side. Also my father, right, being in martial arts is fantastic. My sister got to 2nd degree. My mom got to 1st degree. My brother, I think he stopped at blue belt. He was young. But it was something that was really a great thing for us all to be involved in. And, you know, when we were at Rock Solid Karate, it was a fantastic idea that they had, that we hadn't necessarily done at Stanton, that they had family classes. And it really brought a lot of people together, like, and more, you know, parents always sit there and they're interested, but, you know, I think they just need that, you know, thing to get them started, you know. And I thought that was a great thing that they did there, was the family classes. But anyway, so yes, Muhammad and I have, you know, come up together. It also helped, right? We started dating when I was 15. So it's, I've grown up with him, and it's always been a part of our journey. It's great that we have friends, like our closest friends, that are also in martial arts. So we hang out with them and we train together, right? It's, it keeps us on our best. And, you know, even though we're not competing anymore, right, it's still something that you always want to, you know, show up and show that you're taking care of yourself, and you know what you're doing, and your technique is appropriate, especially so you can teach others. And then with work balance, right? I mean, for me, since we don't run a school, right, it's a little bit easier for me to balance, right? But we always make it a huge priority to go to all the regional events, because that's where we can share and give back.
But even outside the martial arts, you also, you know, keep very active with, whether it's getting a run in, or I know you've done CrossFit in the past, you know, so I'm sure that factors into, you know, balancing schedules as well.
Definitely. I mean, I'm probably not as scheduled as you guys, but I am very regimented too, right? Like I like routine. It was the surprise, like my engagement was a surprise. It's probably the one and only surprise in my life that I've appreciated. I don't like surprises. I hate them. And I'm a very scheduled and disciplined person. So I, you know, I like to plan well in advance, and you know, that's how I am. So balancing all of those things becomes easy, right? When you have a schedule and a routine, and you know what you're doing, and you have a plan.
You'll be happy to know that you are not your husband's worst student.
Oh,
but you did push the limits, he said. So you brought up your master's thesis, and this might be kind of a hard question, but can you share, I mean, I shouldn't say your favorite story, but an interesting story that you learned talking to one of the senior masters, or something that you didn't know that you think people would want to know?
there's a few of them, and I actually started rereading it last night in preparation to this, and I need to read the rest of it because it was so good, like hearing all this, reading it all again. So one of the things is, you know, the master's promotions, I don't know if, I can't remember if this is in, I don't think it's in the book, maybe it is in Grandmaster Strong's newest book, but you know, the knighting ceremony where we get our masters. So when I was talking to Grandmaster Strong, he just said, you know, it was Master Hicks' promotion, and I was in the hotel room with Grandmaster Shin, and we were saying, how do we want to do this? And Grandmaster Strong said, hey, what about, have you ever seen like a knighting ceremony? Like, and he was like, Grandmaster Shin was like, what are you talking about? He was like, and he's like, do it. And so he got down on one knee and he showed him. He's like, yes, we'll do it that way. And that's how we got our master ceremony. That's still today. So that was pretty cool. When Master Dabaka, he was asked to do a host a tournament, and he was like, I don't know why he asked me to host a tournament, but he decided to ask me. And so I had seen some cool trophies and stuff and all, you know, so I went to someone, I said, how do I create this really cool trophy? And so he had to get a graphic designer, and so we got this graphic designer, and he got this sculptor, and he did it right, and he figured it all out. And Grandmaster Shin shows up, and it's the night before, and he still doesn't have the trophies. And he's like, oh my God, trophies aren't coming. Like, I failed, like, you know. And Grandmaster Shin said to him, he said something like, you know, where are the trophies? And Master Dabaka was like, sir, they're not here. And he was like, I was ready to get wailed on, right? And Grandmaster Shin said, well, if you don't try anything new, you'll never learn. And he was like, in that moment, it was such a teaching moment for me, because he could have, reamed me out and that wouldn't have done anything. But he taught, like, I learned from that. Luckily, the next day the trophy showed up, and Grandmaster Shin really loved those trophies. So he kept one on his desk for a really long time. And it was just like a proud moment. The other thing Master Tabaka said was for his 7th degree, I believe, I can't remember who he said was testing with him in the 7th degree, but their thesis was how to sustain the World Tang Soo Do Association after the succession of the organization. And it was before Grandmaster Shin was ill, but shortly after that, he did get ill. So all of them that had tested had all written their own thesis. I think Master Casarano was one of them. They had all each written a thesis and submitted it to Grandmaster Shin. And so he had these different views of like what would be the best way for a succession. And then he was able to utilize what he thought was good, but I just thought that was interesting too, that Grandmaster Shin was thinking about that, back then. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, Master Tabaka, I got the chance to talk to him. He was a really interesting guy.
Yeah. I had actually not known him very well. I think he was my center judge in one world tournament, and that was the only time I had ever met him. So it was a really great opportunity, and he was very, it was again, like welcoming, Master Stein told me a lot of different things about how he got into the organization, and he and Master Tabaka, I didn't realize, had the same instructor. So they talked a lot about that. Master Godwin is a wealth of knowledge, and he told me the whole history of back then when Grandmaster came over and all the Koreans and when they left the association. Master Vaughn, he said he was the person who helped create, like, initiate the charter convention. And he said, if you look at the picture, he's the one taking it. So he's not actually in the picture. So anyway, it's really good. But there's a lot of different things that I've learned through all of the masters, right, and interviewing them. And it's really insightful. And you just appreciate these men that have really created this organization for us.
Absolutely. And there's stories that shouldn't be forgotten. So,
definitely.
And
so now you doing this is pretty, incredible. And now you have it live, right? So I have most of them recorded as well, audio. But and I wrote it down, but this is so great. So thank you.
Yeah, we got to find a way to get that out there. We got to publish it and get it out to people. One of our students the other day was asking us for different resources that she could read. And we were talking about the volumes and Grandmaster Strong's book, Grandmaster Shin's book. And, I think yours would be a huge addition too, because I bet people can get a lot of history from that as well. So
it's great.
It's an idea.
A couple people still saying hello. So Gaynor Russell from Region 11 says good evening for them. And then Master Mukherjee from Austin says hello.
Yes, Master Mukherjee. He so that's just another example of like welcoming. Well, I should talk about the Master Cons as well. When we went to the European Championship. But so everywhere you go, right, people welcome you. We did do, I think it was 2005 when we went to the European Championship. And Master Khan and Master Dawn, they both, and Master Noreen, Master Noreen wasn't a master at the time, but they all welcomed us. And, we went and we competed there, and it was just so nice that, again, you go somewhere else and you just are, welcomed, even though you're competing too, right? And so it was a fantastic experience. And then we went to Texas recently, just traveled. Muhammad had an event for work for a weekend, and we flew in on a Friday night. So we didn't even think to reach out to Master Mukherjee. And he saw my Facebook post that said I was in town, and he was like, what's going on? So we actually got to go to his school on a Saturday, and we hadn't even thought about Saturday. And then he took us out to a really nice lunch afterwards. So thank you, sir.
It's funny. I say all the time in these interviews that there's a brotherhood, and like wherever you go, you're welcome. But I feel like you guys have truly lived that. You can attest that it actually is true. Like wherever you go, you will not feel, if you can find someone in World Tang Soo Do you won't feel alone. You won't feel like you're.
And as you know, broad and we've expanded, right? I mean, there's really no excuse. You know, I know you've asked a lot of different people about staying in the martial arts, like through different travel, through college or through travel or through moving or whatever. I mean, there's just such a great opportunity. And then of course you can always start your own school if there is really nothing around. And there's a lot of examples of instructors and masters that have at first degree, right? Started their own schools to continue it going. So
Yeah, absolutely. We got the chance to go to Aruba as well with you guys. That was another fun experience.
that was, yeah, absolutely incredible. And that was before I was in Region 2. I didn't even realize that I was going to be going to Utah. Master Williamson was there, Master Piscini was there. Of course, both Grandmaster Strong and Grandmaster Bodwin were there. So it was incredible to go there. We got to teach at Master Noriega. Is her last name Noriega? What's Melissa's last name?
Yeah.
School, right? And see the incredible journey and growth that she's had and evolution of her school there in Aruba. So it was an absolutely fantastic experience.
Yeah, that was, I still remember like going to the hotel and it's like, oh my gosh, Grandmaster Strong's room is right across from us. It was like,
or hanging out by the pool.
Yeah.
Or when they danced with those, those island.
Oh yeah.
Carnival dancers.
The carnival dancers. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. Those great memories. We talked not a whole lot about outside of martial arts, but you mentioned college, and for some reason this came into my mind. You talked about some of the sports that you competed in. You did hockey in college, right?
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, I did ice hockey. Actually, it was an intramural. But yes, I did ice hockey for Drexel's intramural girls team. Mm-hmm.
Did you do ice hockey before that, or there's
no.
just?
So I mean, I was in a sorority, and one of my sorority sisters, they were looking for more people to play on this intramural team. I wasn't even that good at ice skating, quite honestly. And I was like, well, I mean, I used to do hockey on the street. We lived in a cul-de-sac growing up, and we used to play street hockey. So I knew how to handle a puck. So I was like, sure, like, let's try. So I, got a pair of ice skates and I learned how to ice skate better. And then I started playing ice hockey. So
that's amazing. So it just shows how athletic you are. And you're like, yeah, sure. Why not? Let's do ice hockey. Sure.
I'd forgotten about that.
Brian Ormiston says, have you thought about a name for your studio when you open? And obviously you have one. When you move back to Region 8, you definitely need to do this once you settle in. I enjoyed seeing both Muhammad and you being promoted to 4th Dan when in Region 8, and you both did fantastic demonstrations. Thanks for always having a smile for me at regional events.
Oh, Brian's great. Precision Karate Academy. That's the name of our club. We actually officially opened it, even though the school didn't open, like the club is open under me. So like I said, we do teach a few of Master Master Williamson's students that have they moved to Utah recently. So we do teach them, but yeah, so we've thought about this school name for a long time, and for Muhammad and I, competition was always important, and knowing the technique. And so like when I teach something, I want to make sure people understand like what they are doing, and exactly the right placement of their foot or their hand or whatever, because some of the things I learned incorrectly, it's hard to break them, right? As you go forward. So I know people are like, oh, give a white belt a break, right? And so sometimes it can probably be overwhelming when I'm teaching a white belt, because I'm like, oh, focus there. And you don't want to be too harsh, right? And you want them to be excited about it, but you also want them to know proper technique so that they don't learn something, that they can't fix later on. Another thing that, I think you said the Master Khans are on. Yeah, one of the most, another pivotal point in my journey was when Master Khan and Master Green came to KMAI, right? And they taught the applications of the forms. And, when you're doing the forms, you're thinking one thing, but it was so revolutionary to me when he taught that, and thinking through, wow, that could be this, and that could be that. That could be a block or an attack, or, vice versa, a throw. And so just thinking of it that way was like the next step, next level for me for instruction. And so that was pretty incredible. And something Master Godwin has always taught us is like, when you do it, right, you only know the moves about like 50%, right? And then when you have to explain it to other people and teach other people how to do it, that's when you truly learn how to do something, because you need to know it well enough to explain it to someone else. And then there's all different kinds of people, right? So some people are short, some people are big, small, little, right? So how do you get them to apply it the right way to make it, beneficial for them? So all of those things I think are important.
So I think that name makes a lot of sense. Precision. That's the way I think of you guys. So precision martial arts. Do you have a logo?
So interestingly, we have Master Skylar Gubler, his wife is designing our logo. So we have different iterations that we're going back and forth with. But there is a sword in there. So that's, but yeah, we'll share it when it's eventually done. But we're trying to work with, right now, I think there's only one man in there, and I think we're going to put a female in there so that we're both there together.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. I agree with what Aaron said. Is when you guys told me that, it's like that makes precision, like with people open up martial arts schools, it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool, cool name, but it's like, yeah, that absolutely fits, their personalities and the painstaking detail that they put into being martial artists. And then Master Mabrouk says, precisely.
We were thinking of mottos, and we were like, precisely what you need, or something like that. But anyway.
Awesome. So believe it or not, we're coming up on the hour mark. I hope it wasn't as painful as you thought it was going to be. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to touch base on?
No, I mean, again, I've really appreciated the entire experience. I think, everyone, for me, right, WTSDA and the martial arts is truly like a way of life, right? It's just who people are. And it's this continuous, learning journey. So for me, even at work, right? I think it's always important to find what motivates people, and that's how they can become their best self. And I think that that's what we have to do as instructors too, is every person comes in to Tang Soo Do, it comes into their first class for a different reason, whether it's self-defense or a parent's putting them in there for self-discipline and respect, right? Or they're just wanting some fitness, or, whatever, maybe they do want the black belt. So everyone has that different motivator, different reason. And so I think it's really critically important to find out what motivates people. What is their why? Why do they want to do what they're, why do they want to be here? And then you can help them become their best self, tailor some things to what they need to do, help them learn, help them be a better person, and then, help them continue on the journey. So one day they can, have their own school and continue spreading, this wonderful art that we're in.
Well, I'm sure I'm not alone in saying this, but I worked with Muhammad quite a bit coming up, but never necessarily got to take a class from you. But just being friends with you and Muhammad, makes me want to be a better martial artist. And just, in general, better fitness, like going to the Grand Canyon with you guys and Peru and all those great adventures where it's like trying to keep up with each other, not in a competition way, but it's like, man, I got to step my game up. So thanks for being a great friend. And
that's one of the things we didn't talk about is the Sunday sparring. Oh my gosh, that was when I first met Master Tim Watson. Sunday sparring was absolutely delightful. So all coming up Thursday nights, I had to be Thursday night. So in my school in Stanton, I always had to go Thursday nights because we brawled, right? We fought Mr. Larry Pierce, Hafez Rosati, Phil Myers, my dad, Ralph Racine, Mark Atkins, Renee, we all brawled. It was so much fun on Thursdays. And then Muhammad started a Sunday sparring, and that was absolutely fantastic. So that's when I first met Tim. Aaron would go, Master Mabrouk would show up sometimes, Master Dante Davis would go. It was just a lot of fun, Master Pat Priest. So it was a lot of fun for us to, Master Jeff Durrell, Setianto, So it was just so much fun. So I really loved that part of the camaraderie, and we always made each other better, right? And, I always had the belief, right? I mean, I'd be pissed, of course, if I got hit in the head or, but it made you better, right? You're like, well, you're not going to drop that next time because get kicked in the stomach really hard by Phil Myers, right? But it was a fantastic opportunity. So definitely I appreciated that opportunity and getting to know you guys starting there and now throughout our journey as friends.
Fun fact, though she'll deny it, and though she didn't get $1,000, she did knock me out in the middle of one of those classes. I have witnesses.
I missed that one.
Don't tell Steph you can see her back kick coming. Just don't do it.
Awesome. Yeah, I wonder what it was about, because Thursdays was the same for us. Thursdays was the big Spartan night. I wonder what it was about Thursday nights. Well, thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for watching along. And hopefully we get to see you guys sooner than later.
Definitely. Tang Soo, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Hey, guys.